This episode of the Home Pros Radio Show podcast is brought to you by HomeBinder, the premier home management app. Receive home maintenance reminders, organize your home's inventory, manage your home improvement projects, and more. Stay tuned to get a free upgrade code for HomeBinder worth over $200.
The Home Pros Radio Show.
I'm Tommy Donovan with RIC Home Inspections, and this is the Home Pros Radio Show podcast. Well, it's inevitable for many homeowners during the late summer and early fall. We're forced to batten down the hatches or even evacuate altogether when our communities are threatened by the high winds, heavy rains, and other severe weather that the hurricane season brings. So, what is it like to experience this type of weather event? And what can we do to prepare ourselves if this kind of weather is heading our way? In this episode of the Home Pros Radio Show podcast, we're aiming to answer these questions so you may be ready to minimize the potential damage caused by a tropical storm or, even worse, a hurricane.
What we want to do today, of course, whenever we have any type of situation like this, any type of impending natural disaster, what's the first thing that we think about? Is our homes. So how to take care of our stuff, how to get our house ready, how to get you ready so that your pets and your loved ones and you have everything you need to weather the storm. Beware, you're going to have a lot of water coming your way. And what is it that we always talk about on this show when it comes to...
We talk more about water than anything because water is terrible.
Everything goes back to moisture. That's right. Just about everything goes back to moisture. We're going to help prepare your house for that. But first, let's kind of get an idea of what we could expect, what's coming, what can our homes be dealing with. Conversation we had with Robert Bodwin, a personal friend of mine who's been through his share of hurricanes in Houston. I want to share some experiences from him and what his life was like as he was trapped in his home for several days after Hurricane Harvey hit. So let's revisit that conversation. Robert, are you there?
Yes, sir.
All right.
I'm here, Tommy.
Thanks for joining us.
And thanks for having me on. I love to get up 6 hours before I usually do on a Saturday morning to talk about a modern-day Noah's Ark.
Well, that's what a real go-getter you got here. I like it.
It's kind of friend he is. So, well, tell us, what is everything like out there? How have you been affected? How is this? This is the second flood you've experienced out there, isn't it?
It's, well, we've experienced a couple. Almost every year we get water at this time of year from some kind of storm. This was obviously the most major storm that's hit the U.S. In recorded history. We got, the last I heard, the official count was 51.88 inches of rain, and the U.S. history prior to that was 48 inches. And, you know, it's been kind of crazy, to be honest with you. The last time that we had nearly this much rain was Allison back in, I think it was 2000 or 2001. We had tons of flooding all over town. This was a much more epic event that affected the entire Houston area and the region. I think we're still under curfew in a lot of the areas of town and different cities and suburbs of 10 p.m. I think it's 10 p.m. in some areas and midnight in others, just to give you an idea. Yeah, there's still certain areas of town that are completely shut off that were under mandatory evacuation, and they had National and State Guard out there making sure that people weren't going in unauthorized on boats to loot neighborhoods. And it really just depends on not really what area of town you are, but the topography of your local neighborhood. There's houses that are only 100 feet, 50 yards from my front door that got water in their homes. And, my family and I, we were blessed. Yes, sir. We did not take on water in the home. We had some minor inconveniences, lost power for 36 hours. But we had no standing water on our street. We had standing water from our back fence about 50 yards away from our back fence, and then that went on for miles, flooding out entire neighborhoods right next to us and the golf course. And it's scary stuff. We took in some families that were evacuated that live only a half mile from us into our home to stay the night. So it really just was hit and miss depending on where particularly you live. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we've never really experienced something quite like that in Houston. I mean, Allison, it was the lower lying areas that flood almost every year. I've got friends that literally have flooded every year the last 3 years. Texas is, the land is very flat. And so it doesn't take much rain for certain areas to flood. But it can be scary. I mean, this was a very scary event. And we couldn't get out of our neighborhood for about 36 hours. For a day and a half, we could maybe drive a couple hundred yards, maybe a half mile at best in one direction. But all major roads in our neighborhood that accessed it and you could get out of were closed off. So that's why you needed to prepare and have your food, your water, fill your bathtubs because there was interrupted water service for a lot of areas of town. But all major roads to the neighborhood were flooded out, and you could not leave the neighborhood. I'm out in the suburbs north of town, and frankly, we got hit the least of Houston. So there's still parts of Houston that are underwater completely and inaccessible. The people that we hosted in our home were rescued from their apartment, a first-floor apartment, by boat rescue. They had fled to the second floor of the apartment complex, and boats picked them up, and those came from around the country, just average citizens trying to help their neighbors in Texas. Police forces from around the country, as far as New York, have driven down to help the policing efforts. There's been tons of effort. It's I know we're short on time, but a quick story. I was talking to a friend from New York that went through 9/11, and I was reminded of a story that he was caught fleeing when the towers fell, and a stranger picked him and his wife up in the dust cloud in their car and just yelled, "Jump in." And it was kind of like that, obviously not to the same degree and horrific level, but you had strangers that never met each other, that were helping each other really, flee for their lives, and then putting them up in their homes all around town. And it's amazing to see humanity come together when things are on the line like that.
And it brings out the best in us. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it, guys.
All right.
This episode of the Home Pros Radio Show podcast is sponsored by HomeBinder. There is no better way to organize paint colors and home documents, get maintenance reminders, receive email alerts of appliance recalls, and share valuable information about your home with potential buyers. For a limited time, use promo code HOMEPROSRadio, all one word, to upgrade to our premium edition for the life of your ownership. Visit us online at homebinder.com or simply click on the link provided in the show description of this podcast. HomeBinder, a homeowner's best friend.
Let's go ahead and get into some of this information that we want to share with folks. We know that the rain is coming. For those of you out there who are stocking up and preparing, here are some of the things that, according to FEMA's website, which can be found at ready.gov/hurricanes, and a number of different websites, I've been kind of collecting things we want to think of as we are hunkering down for the weather. Well, what do you notice, Shane, when folks go out, they start tearing up the grocery stores? What is it they go after?
The milk and the bread.
Yeah.
I guess it's sandwiches and cereal, I guess. Yeah. I've always wondered, what do you make with milk and bread?
Or, milk and bread, milk and eggs.
I guess it's sandwiches and cereal.
But what's wrong with that? What's inherently the mistake in doing that?
There's a shortage of it, for one.
The food products that tend to spoil or go stale pretty easily.
Right.
So, if the power goes out, so will the refrigeration, and those items will not be any good to you. Focus on stocking up on self-sustainable foods. Things like beef jerky, trail mix, things that won't go bad. If you're going to get canned goods, make sure you don't go to the big box stores and get the giant cans, right? You want to actually be able to consume what you open as you open it. You don't want to leave things laying around.
Get a bunch of little cans of Beanie Weenies.
Yeah, exactly.
And plastic forks, so you don't have to wash them.
You want to stock up on water, because you never know when that'll go out. We want to consider storing 1 gallon per person per day for 3 days. Because, what happened when we do have flooding conditions, I was watching some video yesterday. They were showing water collecting in the street. Guess what was actually coming up out of the manhole? Sewage.
Oh,
isn't that
nice.
Great? Yeah.
And it's something we don't think about, but that's what does happen whenever we have flooded conditions.
That's
so we're
why
going to
you
want
try
to
to stay away
stock
from
up on
that water.
Yeah, stock up on water. Make sure that we have clean drinking water so we can have water to drink. The other thing you want to do is fill up your bathtubs before the storm comes, just in case our water supplies do disappear. Because even though you might not be flooded, you might have issues with water supplies. So you can fill up your bathtub, have water there handy, so that when you do need to bathe, it's there, and only use it for that. You don't want to drink that, of course.
Yeah, unless you drink it before you bathe.
Yeah. The other thing about water that we want to think about doing is freezing it. So if we're going to fill up gallon jugs of water, pour a little bit out so there's room for it to freeze. Go ahead and freeze that.
Yeah, don't fill it all the way up and freeze it, because that will bust and make a mess whenever you thaw out.
Yep. And another. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Another tip. What else can go out during storms like these?
Power.
All right. First thing that we worry about when the power goes out is our refrigerators, right?
Yeah.
So that's one of the reasons why, as we're stocking up on our water, we want to freeze it. If we keep it in our fridge, the power's out, the refrigerator's not working, we have everything cold in the fridge, but we keep opening and closing the fridge.
Right.
We have to remember that if we keep doing that, things are going to thaw sooner than later. So get an extra cooler, have one handy, so that the important stuff can be kept in the fridge. No one opens and closes it. And then the stuff that is more immediate, the beanie weenies and other things that you're eating now.
You don't refrigerate beanie weenies.
You don't?
No.
After you cook them? Well, maybe not.
You just open the little can. You only open as much as you can eat.
All right.
Remember, you said it.
All right. That's it. So I'm the dummy now.
You are so dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
So the more immediate needs, whatever they are, that need to be refrigerated, keep those in a cooler, and then you transfer. That can help maintain your refrigeration as the storm goes on. Because it's just, they say here, 1 gallon of water per person per day for 3 days. Everywhere I looked, they basically said prepare for 3 days.
I got you.
We talked about filling our bathtubs, stocking up on water. We also want to stock up on batteries, cell phones, cell phone chargers. Make sure you're keeping those charged. Other things, a first aid kit. So any medicines that you take, have them with your first aid kit. Have a whistle handy as well. We're in a situation like this, and our normal communication styles break down. We can't call people on the phone. If you need help and you need attention, a whistle can help you get that attention you need. Toilet paper. You can never have enough of that.
That'd be a good idea.
Yep.
Bring your flashlights inside. I mean, this sounds sort of stupid, sort of like common sense,
elementary, but
I was thinking on the way to the show this morning, I don't have any flashlights inside. I have 3 or 4 in my truck, because I use them at work all the time. So I probably need to take those inside just in case.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and if you can, get a transistor radio or some other type of radio that you can use that does not rely on, having to plug into a power source. Because a lot of times this is radio right here is the way to stay informed, especially in times like this. Now, what can we do to prepare your home? When power goes out, many of us turn on our generators.
Yes.
Which can be hazardous. Folks, remember, carbon monoxide will move through building materials. So a lot of folks think it's safe to just run their generator in the garage. Carbon monoxide will move through drywall. So it's not safe there. Make sure you put your generator in a safe place. Make sure you're smart with how you use it.
Outside and elevated.
Check weather stripping and other exterior gaps where moisture can work its way in. Make sure your weep holes are cleaned out.
Clean out your weep holes.
Well, hold on. Let me find it. Episode number. Oh, here it is. Episode 55 of our podcast. We talk about weep holes. A little footnote there. Roll up and remove area rugs in your house. If you're going to vacate your house, get those up off the floor. Because as soon as water gets in, they're just gonna hold it there, and it's gonna make for a nasty mess. Outside, check your gutters and your downspouts now. Do it now.
Absolutely. Now, before it starts raining, because it's not gonna be fun to do it then.
We're getting a lot of rain, and we want to move water as quickly as possible. We want to keep our gutters and downspouts clear and clean.
If you have a storm drain outside in your yard or at the end of the road or whatever, go ahead and go out there right quick and take a look at it. Make sure it's not covered with leaves or debris of anything, because once all the water does start coming in, if there is a place that would flood, that would probably be where it starts because there's a reason that drain is in the place that it is. So, go ahead and make sure those are clear.
If you have a swimming pool and you have pool furniture, throw it all in the pool.
That's not a bad idea at all.
I know.
God, that was I was like, I was about to give you credit for it, but I was like, yeah, that's pretty good. I mean,
when I growing up, we had a pool in the backyard. Remember, a thunderstorm came by. A wind gust would take up the umbrella and blow it across the pool area.
Right.
And it makes sense. If you got to take off, go ahead. So if you throw everything in the pool, it's not going to go anywhere.
That way you don't come back and it be
worst thing
2 miles down the road.
Away. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, the first thing I think about is the trampolines that always go flying in the neighbor's yard and all. So if you got a trampoline, tie it down, flip it over, do something so it's not just a big sail sitting out there.
Yeah,
that's the first thing I always think of because there's always a trampoline that hits a house somewhere or something, or it's in or 2-3 houses down. So tie down the stuff.
Mm-hmm. There's that. Also, if you're at a point where you've made the decision, it's time to get out of here. Turn off the circuit breakers in the house. If you're use the best of judgment, but if your house is flooding and you're taking on water, go ahead and turn them off because you can make a bad situation even worse.
Right.
Turn it into shock hazards. Another thing, if you're going to leave, if you're out of power, how can you determine if your food in your refrigerator is bad?
Talking about the quarter?
Yeah. Did you know about that one? I didn't know about that.
I saw that one back.
Tell that one.
Yeah, you freeze a cup of water and you put the quarter on top of it. Mm-hmm. So that way,
styrofoam cup.
I don't know the exact depth down or whatever.
Really matter.
But if it is not on the top, obviously your power has been out at some point in time because it's melted long or it's been off long enough. Yeah, so items in the fridge. Yeah.
Yep.
If it's at the very bottom, you probably need to probably throw about everything away.
Yeah. But another way of doing the exact same thing, take a plastic bag, fill it with crushed or chipped ice. And so if you do have to leave and the power goes out and you don't know it and you come back and that bag has transformed from pieces of ice to one big solid piece of ice in the bag, your power's gone out on you. So that's another tip.
Yeah, I'll tell you one other thing that I've actually been going through yesterday was I'm trying to close out an insurance claim with a customer of mine that's been going on for a while. It was a previous leak and all this. So you guys that do have insurance claims that are you're trying to go through, be prepared to wait a little bit longer now because there's about to be a lot more urgent insurance claims.
It's all going to be happening all at once.
Oh yeah, that's always fun. But
we do have we have conversations about that. We talk about insurance. Was it episode 47? I believe it was on the Home Pros radio show podcast. If you haven't seen it, Tim Briles of the Briles Company. We were talking about wind damage and hail we experienced with our roofs and how to handle it. What to look for in your insurance policy so you know what it's covered. We've got Tim. Good morning, Tim. And Tim, by the way, folks, Tim's calling from New York.
Listen, I wanted to help you out with this hurricane stuff.
Mm-hmm.
My mom suffered through Hurricane Hugo many years ago. One of the things that she really brought to bear was move a little bit west.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be permanent. Just for a couple weeks or whatever, and then come back, and everything will be fine.
Yeah, that's it.
And seriously, stay safe. Don't be proud.
Yeah.
Don't, say that, I can withstand this hurricane.
I think that's one of the things that's kind of frustrating to see is how many times have we been warned this week about, hey, get out of the way, get out of the way, and we're
see people
sending
evacuated
to rescue folks. Yeah. Well, Tim, it's great hearing from you, and thanks for calling in.
And that's probably the best advice overall. If disaster's heading your way, just get out of the way of the disaster. Your home can be replaced, but you cannot. For my co-host Shane Hips with Closing Contractor, I'm Tommy Donovan with RIC Home Inspections, hoping the information we shared helps you weather the storm and, most of all, keeps you safe. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll catch you next time on the Home Pros Radio Show podcast.
Thank you for listening to the Home Pros Radio Show. If you have a question for the Home Pros, visit us online at homeprosradio.com, where you can contact us directly and also learn more about the topics and guests we bring to you each week. It's the Home Pros Radio Show online at homeprosradio.com or on the radio at 94.5 WGTK, The Answer.